Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel MindMint Interviews. This is our next video interview and today we'll be interviewing Miss Dimple Thomas, who is an engineering manager at Ericsson Canada. Today she'll be sharing some views about being an international student, how was her professional journey, how she reached at a management position in Ericsson,
and she'll be giving you some tips on resume building, like what things you should highlight in your resumes while applying to different companies. And also she'll be giving you some useful things about the interview sessions, like what should be your attitude while you're giving an interview, and what the interviewer looks into the profile of an interviewee, and what attitude he is looking for in the person. So all these things, and also she'll be sharing with you some tips on how you should go to the networking events and what attitude you should have there. And all these things are very useful for a job seeker or a new international student here.
So please guys watch this video as it will be really useful to you.
And also please subscribe to our channel.
So let's begin.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Hello. So we want to ask how's everything, how are you coping with during this situation, work wise? How's everything? Are you managing it well? How's the situation?
Yeah, so work-wise, we're very lucky that we're in the industry that we are in, because being in telecom, being in IT, it makes it very easy to transfer our jobs to be remote, and work from home is very common. So I think we're coping pretty well, when compared to other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is it going, are you working, you have to work more hours in this situation, or just okay, fine?
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question. So I feel like the first week maybe was a little bit of adjustment, but then I think we all kind of determine our hours. So as long as we get the work that we get done. So it's actually, in a way, it's kind of nice because it's quite flexible. So I'm able to, do things that previously, if you're spending the time commuting, then you don't have that half an hour, right? But now I use that half an hour to run. So it's kind of like you just do things that you couldn't do before. So it's kind of nice in that way. I do try to definitely, it is easy to work a lot of hours. So I set limits on myself. So I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So you also started as an international student here, right? So, and you are now an engineering manager at Ericsson. So, how was your journey so far? Which all things helped you to reach at a very good position? And so we want to know about your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I started as an international student. I came to Canada and I just turned 18. So I was pretty young. I did my bachelor's at McMaster University in Hamilton. School in India. I grew up in Dubai, but I went to an Indian school. So the schooling system is very different than the schooling system here. So that was an adjustment. I think my first year was a bit of figuring out how to learn and how to study. So that took some time, but then I got a good group of, my social circle, a good group of friends, and we started studying together and such. So that became easier. I think the hardest for me probably was to find an internship. Probably you guys have others in the same situation. It was quite challenging to find that first opportunity. So, but then once I found that first opportunity, then it's almost like a place to prove yourself, right? So it was with Ericsson. So that's how I moved to Ottawa for my internship. And then you get to work, you get to meet the people, and then Ericsson is a great company. So I liked the company, and then the work kind of speaks for itself after that point. And then then I got offered a full-time position, and things kind of fell into place in that way. But definitely in terms of challenges, it was getting that first internship. I know I applied for 30, 35 places, and no callbacks, and I've been through all that. So yeah, getting that first interview was kind of the main thing.
So you started from the management position itself, or you were in engineering positions and then you switched to management position?
Yeah, I started definitely as an engineer, as a systems verification engineer. In fact, I did that for 5 years. Obviously, even within a technical position, you have technical leadership positions. So I did like a team lead position. And then pretty recently switched to an engineering management position just to experience that side of like the work as well.
Okay. So yeah.
So like according to you, is co-ops getting choosing program with co-ops or internship, is it important, or like is it reduces the struggle? Like yeah.
Certainly. I mean, if there's one piece of advice that I typically give to most international students, it's like definitely do a co-op or an internship course in your curriculum, because I think that's the overhead of taking that is so minimal compared to the benefits that you gain, especially I think for us coming in as international students. I think there's two things: either we come in very young, which is my case, or you come in after having work experience in India, which is good, but I think it definitely makes a difference if you have work experience in Canada. So co-op is a fantastic way for you to get it. Your school helps you get it. The overhead, as I said, I mean, there is overhead, like you have to apply to jobs and kind of be open and network in that way, but that's all very minimal as compared to the benefits. Certainly in my career, co-op has definitely helped.
Okay. So do you have any advice for international students or the job seekers for their resumes, like for the application, what they should focus on or something like that you want to advise to them?
Yeah, I mean, I can give some advice. I think like probably you can, there's so much good advice, online as well, but some things, I mean, kind of looking through resumes and just certain tips from that perspective, if you will. It's very easy to make a generic resume and a generic cover letter that you send to 35, 40 companies. My personal experience, and kind of by looking at resumes, that doesn't help, because I think your employer can always tell if you haven't applied for a particular job. So my advice is pick a few companies, really understand what their business is, understand what the job description, like read the job description, understand what the job is about, and definitely showcase why you are the right candidate for the job. I think that's super important, because we are looking through so many resumes daily for each position, and the job market is super competitive. So you have to stand out, but you also have to make sure that you're conveying to your employer why you are the right fit for the position. So that's super important. So don't make there are two strategies: quantity versus quality, but definitely I would say quality is the better strategy. Like, have a good quality resume focused towards the employer that you're targeting.
That's true. So they should have the particular skills matching the description of the job, right? So
yeah, and I think another thing as well that at least I look at, I mean, there's obviously sort of like your marks, which is all kind of given, but what I find impressive in a resume is when a student has shown that they've gone above and beyond. So if they've done projects outside of school, or if you've participated in hackathons, or if you've created a product, or you've worked in, like, you've done an innovation competition, like, definitely showcase things that your classmates wouldn't have on their resume. You know what I mean? So, because again, when you look at, like, if I'm getting 30 resumes and you're all from the same class, your resumes probably look very similar. But then what draws my attention is more these kind of things, especially if you have leadership capabilities, you've shown extracurriculars, you've done things outside of school. Those are definitely things that I look for.
Okay, that's a good advice for people.
Yeah, and also, like, is it like beneficial when when a student has when a person has a PR, or like what the scenario looks like? Is it like for the for the callbacks? Does it matter? Like, how much it matters?
I would say that, I mean, definitely every employer strives to be equal opportunities. So we cannot, I mean, of course, we would that would not be the focus of what we're looking at. I also understand that it's not easy for an international student to be PR, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be discriminated against because you don't have that. I think you really have to show why you're the right candidate for the job.
That's true. So, like, is there any advice for the people, like, they should take care of something while the interview is going on for the interviews or something like that? So, their behavioral also matters, right? So, is there something?
Yeah, interviews are tricky because it really depends on the interviewer. I think every interviewer is different, every interview style is different. But I think some things again that showcase you having. I think what's quite impressive is when a student has really done their research on the company. It's very impressive when a student is telling you about, for instance, the technology that the company is working on, or the patents that the company has worked on, or specific. I mean, if people come in and talk specifically about what the Ottawa site has done, for instance, because we're based in Ottawa, that's quite impressive because, again, it just shows that you've taken that extra step to really learn the company, learn about the job. I mean, of course, I think what we all know is, students that come through a Canadian curriculum, you all have kind of a certain level of skill set. So I think what you need to focus on is differentiating yourself a little bit. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but like I think there are those few things that you can do which really make an impression, like learning about the company, understanding the job description, talking about your projects. Definitely, if there are things that you've done outside of school. And one thing that it's interesting. Because when sometimes obviously there's nervousness, and I think most employers are trained to see signs of nervousness, and we try really hard to make you at ease and get you to a level where like we're all we're just having a chat. But certainly, it definitely helps. You should not have anything on your resume that you cannot explain because everything on your resume is fair game for an employer to ask you about. And you need to be able to explain what's on your resume.
Okay.
And it's like, according to you, is networking important? Like, how important it is, especially in Canada, or general wise also?
Yeah, I guess networking. I think networking is constant. That's kind of how we all operate in a way. Like every person that you meet is an opportunity for you to get to know someone, right? So you always have to keep that in mind, putting your best foot forward. That is kind of the basis of networking. But then, of course, networking takes on different forms. Like when you're in university, networking could be participating in networking events where you meet employers. I mean, again, like being a student, international student myself, I've done tons of that. Now I go to networking events. I think it's definitely, you're always networking. You're like from the moment you start talking to someone, you're networking with them. So I think that it's always good to keep that in mind, be conscious of that. I know like a lot of times when I go to networking events, sometimes there can seem a little bit of how to put it mildly, like a little bit of desperation from the candidate. And I think you probably, like, we get it. I mean, I definitely get it coming from sort of like the pressures that we all have, to get a job and to be successful in that way. But definitely desperation is not, it shouldn't come across as you being desperate. That's my only advice. Like if you're networking, try to be calm, try to be confident. It is kind of, you get very little time at a networking event, and you have to kind of put your best foot forward. Again, super impressive if you're coming up and speaking with us and you know about the company and you know about the values. All of that is very impressive. So again, do your research, do your homework. Maybe the idea is not to talk to 35 people, 35 companies. Maybe the idea is to do your research beforehand, pick 5 to 10 companies, really understand what their business is about, and come prepared. I think that really does, again, differentiate. It's all about differentiating yourself from the rest, right? So, yeah.
That's really good advice for everyone. Like for sure, many people, they don't know about these things, right? So it's better to have this information.
Yeah, I think that's from our
So,
side.
yeah.
It was it was a really helpful video, I guess. Very helpful interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank you so much for
such,
taking the time out and
for such informative session.
Yeah, no worries at all. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you guys. And I wish you the best. You guys are doing fantastic work. And all of my support to you in this YouTube channel and to all of the students as well. It's not easy. I know this period of searching for jobs, it can be quite frustrating and it's not easy. But work through it, and you're eventually going to see the fruits of your labor. But thank you to you both, definitely, for having this channel and helping your fellow students. And it's COVID time, so stay safe and stay healthy.
you too.
You too. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.